I certainly see a role for tokenized gold to the extent that you want a stable coin. You might as well have one that's stable with gold because gold is stable. Fiat currencies are not. They just go down. Gold holds its value. So I think ultimately and ironically, the blockchain winner will be gold. So blockchain isn't going to make gold obsolete. It's going to make gold better. And yeah, I think gold's going to go to 10,000 or higher, but $10,000 gold from here is not even a triple. It's double and then 2.5 times. But if gold goes to 10,000, I expect my gold stocks to go up at least 10x from where they are now.
In this compelling financial breakdown, economist and longtime market analyst Peter Schiff outlines why gold is positioned to dominate the next phase of the global monetary shift. Known for his early warnings before major financial crises, he explains that blockchain technology will not replace gold. Rather, it will strengthen gold's role. Tokenized gold, he argues, may emerge as the most reliable form of stable value in a world where fiat currencies continue to erode purchasing power. According to the analysis, the advantage is simple. Gold remains stable while national currencies consistently move lower. As blockchain adoption grows, the most trusted collateral may become digital gold, combining centuries-old stability with modern technological efficiency. Schiff suggests that this pairing will make gold more relevant than ever. He also forecasts that gold reaching $10,000 isn't a far-fetched scenario, but a reasonable progression given current economic trends. However, the most explosive upside may come from gold mining stocks. If gold climbs to that level, he expects quality miners to outperform dramatically, potentially delivering gains of 10x or more as capital flows chase limited supply. If you found this helpful, like, share, and subscribe to The Metal Bar. Turn on the bell so you don't miss any updates. And comment below to share your thoughts on it. Appreciate you for tuning in. Now, listen to the interview.
I think the movement, the rotation out of dollars into gold is not only going to continue, but it's going to broaden. I think central banks that haven't been buying gold are going to start buying. I think those that have been buying are going to buy more. And I think what's really going to happen more next year is that individual and institution investors, they're going to start buying gold. They haven't been buying gold in decades. They're going to start buying, right? You look at Morgan Stanley recently came out and said that the 60-40 portfolio, needs an upgrade, and it should be 60-20-20, where it's 20% gold, and you cut your bond allocation in half, which is also a big problem for the U.S. government, because if foreign central banks are selling their dollars and U.S. investors are selling their dollars to buy gold, who's going to be buying all these bonds that the U.S. government is selling? The Fed is the only one left standing, but that means more inflation because the Fed can only buy bonds if it prints more money to pay for them. And that just means more inflation, a weaker dollar, which drives even more money into gold. I mean, there's no correction other than the fact that gold got to, almost 4,400. But there's probably only been, I haven't counted them, but just a handful of days where gold's even traded above 4,100. So what happened is gold just had a big spike and then kind of retraced that spike. But, it's hard to say gold's in a correction when it's at $4,100, right? I mean, this is up until a month ago, that would have been an all-time record high. So, but I think the driving force has come from central banks. Now, maybe central banks didn't drive it up to 43.60 that week. Maybe that was some, spec money coming in finally off the sidelines, jumping on and then, getting slapped. But I think for the past couple of years, the move from 2,000 up to 4,000 was driven in large part by central banks. And why are central banks buying all this gold? Well, I think they can read the writing on the wall with respect to the US dollar, and they are looking to replace their dollars with gold, to have more gold backing their currencies than dollars. Backing one fiat currency with another fiat currency doesn't really accomplish much, but backing it by gold does. And I think the central banks have a lot of reasons to do that. And I think the central bank rotation out of dollars and treasuries into gold is going to continue. And I think what we're going to also see is a rotation out of crypto into gold. The only problem there is there may not be much to rotate, because as people try to get out of Bitcoin, there won't be a lot of buyers. So I don't know how much money they'll be able to salvage from that busted trade. But I think you're going to see a big blow up in the crypto market in 2026 as the air really comes out of that bubble. So Bitcoin is not gold. They can draw a coin and color it gold, but that doesn't make it gold. You can't conduct electricity with it. I can't make, a bracelet out of it. I can't do anything with it. But it is a highly speculative token. that people collect. And to the extent that more people want to collect Bitcoin, the price could go up. So you can make money speculating in Bitcoin, but it's not gold. It's very different. So if you're just looking for a store of value, an inflation hedge, a safe haven, you don't consider Bitcoin. Just look at gold.
Yeah.
But if you're looking to speculate, if you think Bitcoin just might go to 500,000 or a million and you want to throw some money there because you think that's going to happen, you could do that. I just don't think it's a good bet at this point. I mean, I just think there's a lot of downside risk now, and I think there's better upside potential. I'd rather buy gold mining stocks. People say, why don't you just put 1% in Bitcoin? I'd rather put an extra 1% into gold mining stocks if I want to gamble. I think there's better odds there. Yeah. I like the asymmetry of that trade better. I think I got a lot of upside relative to the downside.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure, look, if you're a big buyer of gold, right, the last thing you want to do is let all the sellers know how much gold you want to buy or how much you've been buying, because the price will go up. So if you want to buy as much gold as possible at the lowest price possible, you're going to, keep your cards close to your vest so people don't know what you're up to.
Exactly.
So, yeah, I think that China probably has a lot more gold than it admits to owning. On the flip side, we may have a lot less. That's, because we haven't had an audit of Fort Knox in well over 50 years. And even the Donald Trump administration early on, they were talking, yeah, we're going to audit the Fed. We're going to audit Fort Knox. We're going to find out how much gold we have. They haven't talked about that in a long time. They completely dropped that.
Why is that?
And well, the skeptic in me is probably that maybe Donald Trump was told by somebody that that's not a good idea because we don't have all that gold. And last thing we want is the world to recognize that, because that will be a big problem for us. Or maybe they need to get it back. Maybe they have it legally, but they've loaned it all out and they need to get it before they do the audit. But the problem is, if the government has loaned out all that gold, what if they don't get it back? What if the people who borrowed it sold it short and they don't even have it anymore?
In this powerful interview, economist Peter Schiff explains why the global financial system is shifting rapidly toward gold, and why 2025-2026 may become one of the most dramatic turning points in modern monetary history. He breaks down how the rotation out of US dollars and into gold is not slowing but accelerating, first led by central banks and soon by major institutions and individual investors who have ignored gold for decades. With major financial firms now recommending gold allocations as high as 20%, the traditional 60-40 portfolio model is being rewritten. The discussion highlights how soaring U.S. debt levels, weakening dollar demand, and accelerating money creation by the Federal Reserve are pushing nations to replace dollar reserves with physical gold. As central banks quietly expand their holdings, and as countries like China potentially possess far more gold than publicly disclosed, confidence in fiat currencies continues to erode. The interview also contrasts real, tangible gold with speculative digital assets, warning that the crypto market could face a severe unwinding as liquidity dries up. Unlike Bitcoin, which offers no industrial utility or intrinsic value, gold remains a proven store of value, a hedge against inflation, and a stabilizing asset in periods of monetary stress. With gold pressing into historic highs and mining stocks positioned for significant upside, this interview outlines why the next phase of the gold bull market may be the most explosive yet. Let's get into the interview.
So many of these people just assume that I must secretly own Bitcoin, is given the fact that we have so much in common and they're so convinced that Bitcoin is great. How can I not know this, right? That doesn't even make any sense to them that I wouldn't agree with them. And so the only way, I guess, to square that is, well, he must be buying it secretly, and this is all part of an act. And it was funny when my son started talking about Bitcoin, they thought, yeah, I had him up to it and I'm buying all this Bitcoin through my son and I'm doing, which is all nonsense. But because they don't want to accept the fact that I legitimately don't like it. I don't believe in it. I think it's a scam. I think it's going to collapse. It's a decentralized Ponzi, a pyramid scheme. They can't accept that I believe that, but I do. But the fact that I believe that is, a threat to the whole system, because the system is based on a shared belief. What gives Bitcoin value is the fact that there's a community of people who think it has value. And it's that belief and confidence system that is the total source of whatever Bitcoin's got. But in order for Bitcoin
not to collapse, and in fact, to keep going up in price, the community of believers has to constantly increase. That's why they're constantly prophetizing, right? They're like the Harry Kirsners of the investment world, because you have to keep bringing new converts in. And one of the reasons that Bitcoin likes to trash gold is because they're saying that it's an alternative to gold. It's better than gold. We don't need gold. In fact, some of the most ridiculous things I hear about gold come from the Bitcoin community. It's a worthless rock. It doesn't have any value. I went onto the Spaces the other day, and there was some guy on there thinks he's so smart. And he says, well, if it wasn't for gold being money, it would be about $50 an ounce. He goes, it's useless. $50 an ounce is like, first of all, it costs $1,500 an ounce to mine it. So if gold was at $50 an ounce, there'd be no more gold, right? Nobody would be digging it out of the ground. But the demand would skyrocket, because if you could buy gold at $50 an ounce, people would use it. They wouldn't even use copper. They would just use gold for everything if it was that cheap.
In this eye-opening discussion, the deeper psychological side of the Bitcoin versus gold debate takes center stage. Schiff challenges the belief system propping up the crypto market, arguing that Bitcoin's value relies almost entirely on collective faith, not intrinsic utility. According to him, many crypto investors refuse to accept that someone can simply reject Bitcoin on principle. Instead, they assume critics must be secretly buying it or pretending for attention. This interview explores why the Bitcoin community views gold as a threat, and why they constantly push the narrative that digital tokens are superior. Schiff outlines how Bitcoin requires a never-ending flow of new believers to sustain its price, calling it a decentralized pyramid where recruitment is essential. Meanwhile, he dismantles the claim that gold is useless, reminding viewers that mining gold costs more than $500 an ounce, and if gold truly fell to $50, companies wouldn't mine it, and global demand would explode. This segment adds another layer to the broader discussion: the difference between assets built on technological hype and those backed by centuries of proven value. As the financial landscape shifts, the clash between speculation and tangible wealth is becoming harder to ignore. If you found this helpful, like, share, and subscribe to The Metal Bar. Turn on the bell so you don't miss any updates, and comment below to share your thoughts on it. Appreciate you for tuning in.